art originated in the Indian subcontinent in the century following the life of the historical Gautama Buddha in the 6th to 5th century BCE, before evolving through its contact with other cultures and its diffusion through the rest of Asia and the world. Buddhist art traveled with believers as Dharma spread, adapted, and evolved in each new host country. A common visual device in Buddhist art is the mandala. From the viewer's perspective, it represents schematically the ideal universe. In various spiritual traditions, mandalas may be employed for focusing the attention of aspirants and adopts the spiritual teaching tool for establishing a sacred spaces and as an aid to meditation and trance induction. Its symbolic nature can help one to access progressively deeper levels of the unconscious, ultimately assisting the meditator to experience a mystical sense of oneness with the ultimate unity from which the cosmos in all manifold forms arises.
Chinese art is similar to the art of Tibet. Both are based upon Vajrayana Buddhism, with its pantheon of divine beings. Bhutan's artisans are skilled workers in metals, wood and slate carving, and clay sculpture. Artifacts made of wood include bowls and dishes, some lined with silver, elegant yet strong wooden bamboo baskets, mats, hats, and keyboard find both functional and decorative usage. Cambodian art. The history of Cambodian art stretches back centuries to the ancient times, but the most famous period is undoubtedly the Khmer art of the Khmer Empire, especially in the area around Angkor and the mainly 12th century temple complex of Angkor Wat, initially Hindu and subsequently Buddhist. Traditional Cambodian arts and craft include textile, non-textile, weaving, silversmithing, stone carving, lacquer weave, ceramics, pot murals, and kite making.
This art has varied throughout its ancient history, divided into periods by the ruling dynasties of China and changing technology. Different forms of art have been influenced by great philosophers, teachers, and religious figures, and even political leaders. Chinese art encompasses fine arts, folk arts, and performance arts. Chinese art is art, whether modern or ancient, that originated in or is practiced in China or by the Chinese artists or performers. After the end of the last feudal dynasty in China, with the rise of the new cultural movement, Chinese artists began to be influenced by Western art and began to integrate Western art in Chinese culture. Influenced by American jazz, Chinese composer Li Jinhui began to create popular music, which made a huge sensation at the beginning of the 20th century, while paintings were introduced to China. And more Chinese painters began to touch Western painting techniques and combine them with traditional Chinese painting. Meanwhile, a new form of painting, comics, has also begun to rise. It was popular with many people and became the most famous, affordable way.
Indian art dates back thousands of years to the petroglyphs of Bhimbetka and the work of art of the Indus Valley civilization. The contribution of the Mughal Empire to Indian art are evident in the paintings, architecture, and miniatures produced during the period between 14th and 17th centuries. One of the most popular art forms in India is called Rangoli. It is a form of sun painting decoration that use finely ground white powder and colors. During the British Raj, modern Indian painting evolved as a result of combining traditional Indian and European style. The Bengal school of art developed during this period, led by Abhinendranath Tagore, Gaganendranath Tagore, Gemini Roy, Mukul Dey, and Nandalal Bose. Insight into the unique qualities of Indian art is best achieved through an understanding of the philosophical, thought, the broad cultural history, social, religious, and political background of the art. The visual arts, sculpture, painting, and architecture are tightly interrelated with the non-visual arts. According to Kapila Vatsyayan, classical Indian architecture, sculpture, painting, literature, music, and dancing involve their own rules conditioned by their respective media. Indonesian art culture have been shaped by long interaction between original genius, custom, and multiple foreign influences. Many cultural practices are strongly influenced by a multitude of religions including Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, and Islam. Indonesia is not generally known for paintings aside from intricate and expressive Balinese paintings, which often express natural scene and themes from the traditional dance. Indonesian calligraphy, most based on the Quran, is often used as decoration as Islam forbids naturalistic depiction. Some foreign painters have also settled in Indonesia and used a wide variety of styles and themes. Most notable are hundreds of meters of relief sculpture at the Temple of Borobudur in central Java. The temple was originally home to 504 statues of the seated Buddha.
Balinese art, an art of Hindu-Japanese origin that grew from the work of artisans of Majapahit Kingdom with their expansion to Malay in the late 13th century. Since the late 28th century, Ubud and its neighboring villages established a reputation as the center of Balinese art. Ubud and Batuan are known for their paintings, Mas for their wood carvings, Siluk for gold and silversmith, and Batu Bulan for their stone carving. Covarrubias described Balinese art as a highly developed, although informal Baroque folk art that combined the peasant and liveliness with the refinement of classicism of Hinduistic Java, but free of conservative prejudice and with a new vitality fired by the exuberance of demonic spirit of tropical primitive. Japanese art covers a wide range of art style and media, including ancient pottery, sculpture in wood and bronze, ink painting on silk and paper, and myriad of type of works of art from ancient time until the contemporary 21st century. The art form rose to great popularity in the metropolitan culture of Edo, Tokyo, during the second half of the 17th century, originating with the single-color works of Hashikawa Moronobu in 1670s. Japanese painting, kaiga, is one of the oldest and most highly refined of the Japanese arts, encompassing a wide variety of genre and style. As with the history of Japanese art in general, the history of Japanese painting in a long history of synthesis and competition between native Japanese aesthetics and adaptation of imported ideas.
Korean art is noted for its traditions in pottery, music, calligraphy, painting, sculpture, and other genres, often marked by the use of bold color, natural forms, precise shape and scale, and surface decoration. While there are clear and distinguishing differences between three independent cultures, there are significant and historical similarities and interactions between the arts of Korea, China, and Japan. The study and appreciation of Korean art is still at a formative stage in the West. Because of Korea's position between China and Japan, Korea was seen as a mere conduit of Chinese culture to Japan. However, recent scholars have begun to acknowledge Korea's own unique art, culture, and important role in not only in transmitting Chinese culture but assimilating it and creating a unique culture of its own. An art given birth to and developed by a nation is its own art. Korean pottery was recognized as early as 6000 BCE. This pottery was also referred to as comb pattern pottery due to the decorative lines carved onto the outside. Early Korean societies were mainly dependent on fishing, so they used the pottery to store fish and other things collected from the ocean, such as shellfish. Pottery had two main regional distinctions. Those from the East Coast tends to have a flat base, whereas pottery on the South Coast had a round base.
Laotian art Lao Buddhist sculptures were created in a large variety of material including gold, silver, and most often bronze. Brick and mortar also was a medium used for colossal images. A famous of these is the image of Phia Vat, 16th century, in Vietnam. All through renovation completely altered the appearance of the sculpture, and it no longer resembles a Lao Buddha. The most famous two sculptures carved in semi-precious stones are the Pyrakeo and the Pairapota Butsavarat. The Thai art. Thai art and visual art was traditionally and primarily Buddhist and royal art. Thai Buddha images from different periods have a number of distinctive styles. Contemporary Thai art often combines traditional Thai elements with modern techniques. Traditional Thai paintings showed subjects in two dimensions without perspective. The size of each element in the picture reflected its degree of importance.
What is Tibetan art called? A tanka, variously spelled as Thangka, tanka or tanka, is a Tibetan Buddhist painting on cotton, silk applique, usually depicting a Buddhist deity, scene, or mandala. What are the elements of art found in Tibetan art? Tibetan art is primarily sacred art, drawing elements from the religions of Buddhism, Hinduism, Bon, and various tribal groups, and reflecting the overriding influence of Tibetan Buddhism. Styles and subject matter can be identified by their composition and use of symbols and motifs. What is interesting about Tibetan art? Most Tibetan painting is in the form of murals and frescoes painted on monastery walls. They depict bodhisattvas, scenes from the life of Buddha, Tibetan gods, portrait of famous lamas, asparas, and demon-like dharmapalas, stomping on human bodies. Many are intended to be used as meditation aids. Who influenced Tibetan art? Central Asian styles certainly reached central Tibet well before the 9th century. But after that date, it was India and Nepal that were to have lasting influence on the development of Tibetan art. Vietnamese art is visual art that, whether ancient or modern, originated in or practiced in Vietnam by Vietnamese artists. Vietnamese art has a long and rich history, the earliest example of which date back as far as the Stone Age around 8000 BCE. What is the traditional art of Vietnam? Silk paintings. As per the traditional style, a silk canvas is directly used as the backdrop of the painting. Typically, themes such as landscapes, pagodas, rustics, countrysides, rural life, or historical events are depicted. The beautiful combination of delicate hues and the silk background creates a magical effect. What is the famous artwork in Vietnam? Boy Xuan Pai is the most famous painter in Vietnam with street paintings. His paintings are both ancient and very realistic pictures, showing the essence of Hanoi old streets in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. The color patches in Pai's painting often have bold borders. Who influenced Vietnam art? Vietnam was invaded and subsequently ruled by Chinese from 111 BC to 939 AD. During 10 decades of imperialist rule, Vietnamese art was influenced by Chinese techniques.